What would you do if your own family turned against you, suing you for the empire you built from nothing? That's the betrayal I faced. I'm Jessica Harper, and my story isn't just about success. It's about fighting for it against the people who should have loved me most. Growing up in a Dallas suburb, I was always second to my sister, Natalie. When I built $1 million company, they didn't celebrate. They demanded a piece of it. This is a true story of heartbreak, resilience, and finding strength when your family becomes your enemy. Stay with me. I'm Jessica Harper, 30 years old, founder of Secure Link Technologies, right here in Austin, Texas. From a tiny apartment to a downtown office overlooking Lady Bird Lake, I built a cybersecurity empire from scratch. But this isn't just a success story. It's a story of surviving betrayal. My parents, Margaret and Robert, and my sister, Natalie, 3 years older, always put her first. Her dance recitals trumped my science fair wins. Her dreams were their priority, while mine were an afterthought. I was the responsible one, the invisible one, fighting for every scrap of attention. In our Dallas home, I learned early that love came with conditions. Natalie, with mom's eyes and a flair for drama, was their golden child. I was just Jessica, quiet, studious, expected to succeed without their help. When I earned a scholarship to UT Austin, I thought I'd finally escape their shadow. I worked 2 jobs, coded late into the night, and turned pain into purpose. Secure Link wasn't just a company. It was my rebellion against being overlooked. But when it hit Forbes, my family didn't call to congratulate me. They showed up with a lawyer, claiming my success belonged to them. This story is for anyone who's felt unseen by those closest to them. Maybe you've been pushed aside, your hard work ignored, your heart broken by family. Get it? I lived it. In Texas, we're raised on grit, and I used every ounce to build something they couldn't take away. But the fight wasn't just legal, it was personal. My family's betrayal cut deeper than any lawsuit could. Yet, through it all, I found a truth. Your worth isn't defined by those who fail you. It's defined by what you create and who you choose to stand by you. Let's walk through this journey together. My childhood in Dallas was a masterclass in being invisible. My parents celebrated Natalie's every move. Her C's were triumphs, her dance recitals were sacred. My straight A's, expected. My science fair victories, skipped for her performances. I built myself up anyway, teaching myself to code, driving myself to competitions, paying my own way through college. At UT Austin, I dreamed up Secure Link Technologies, a cybersecurity game-changer born from sleepless nights and sheer determination. By 2021, we were in Forbes, a $1 million company born from my grit, not their support. Then came the ultimate betrayal. When Mom passed from pancreatic cancer in 2023, I wasn't even invited to her deathbed. The will reading, held without me. Everything, our family home, investments, even Grandma's jewelry, went to Natalie. Mom's note said I was strong, that Natalie needed it more. I was devastated, but I kept building. When Secure Link success hit the headlines, my dad and Natalie showed up, not to apologize but to demand 20% of my company. They claimed Dad's old puzzle hobby inspired my tech. They sued me, their own blood, for a share of what I'd earned alone. I fought back with the best lawyer in Texas and won. But victory wasn't sweet, it was empty. I'd lost my family long before the courtroom. So, I turned pain into purpose, founding the Secure Link Foundation to help young dreamers like me, kids from tough backgrounds with big ideas. I found a new family in my husband, Michael, my team, and the kids I mentor. If you've ever been betrayed by family, know you're not alone. Hit that like button if this resonates. Subscribe to join our community of fighters. Drop your story in the comments. Have you had to set boundaries with family? Use truth unlocks stories to share. Your voice matters, and it might just inspire someone watching right now. It all began in a quiet Dallas suburb, in a house that looked warm but felt cold. A 4-bedroom colonial with a big backyard where Dad grilled on Sundays, but only when Natalie was the center of attention. I was always second, my achievements drowned out by her spotlight. From that house, I learned to fight for myself, to build something bigger than their neglect. This isn't just a story of revenge. It's about breaking free. Let's go back to where it started, to the moments that shaped me, long before the lawsuit that changed everything. My story begins in a 4-bedroom colonial house in the Dallas suburbs, the kind of place where neighbors wave and kids ride bikes until dusk. It looked like the perfect American home. Big backyards, Sunday barbecues, a tire swing swaying in the breeze. But inside it was a different story. My mom, Margaret, ran our household like a military operation, every detail planned, every expectation clear. My dad, Robert, was quieter, always nodding along to her decisions, a shadow in her wake. And then there was my sister, Natalie, 3 years older, with Mom's piercing blue eyes and a flair for dance that made her their golden child. I was just Jessica, quiet, studious, the one who faded into the background. From my earliest memories, I knew my place. Natalie was the star, the one they pinned their hopes on. Her dance recitals were sacred, her every whim a priority. If she tripped, Mom was there with a bandage and a hug. If I excelled, I got a nod, maybe a "that's nice, Jessica." It wasn't that they were cruel, they just didn't see me. Natalie's sparkle demanded their attention, and I learned to survive on scraps. I'd watch them fuss over her costumes, plan her competitions, while I sat at the kitchen table with my math homework, invisible. It stung, but I buried it deep, telling myself I'd prove my worth someday. This wasn't about money. We were comfortable middle class, with a home full of photos, most of them Natalie's. It was about love or the lack of it. Mom would say, "Jessica, you're so capable," as if that excused their neglect. Capable meant I didn't need them, didn't deserve their time. I remember one Christmas, Natalie got a new dance outfit, sequins glittering under the tree. My gift, practical sweater, 2 sizes too big. "You'll grow into it," Dad said, already turning back to Natalie's excited chatter. That house taught me a hard truth. Love in my family came with a pecking order, and I was always last. But in Texas, we're raised on grit. Even as a kid, I knew I'd have to carve my own path, no matter how much it hurt. My 10th birthday was supposed to be my day. I'd been dreaming about it for weeks. A small party with school friends, balloons, maybe a piñata in our Dallas backyard. Mom had promised, and I believed her. I woke up that morning, heart racing, picturing cake and laughter. But when I came downstairs, clutching the banister in my favorite blue dress, I found Mom and Dad huddled around Natalie, their faces lit with pride. She'd been selected for a regional dance competition. "Isn't that wonderful, Jessica?" Mom beamed, barely glancing my way. "Your sister might go to nationals." My stomach dropped. "What about my party?" asked, voice small. Dad looked up, distracted. "Oh, happy birthday, kiddo. We'll have to reschedule. Natalie needs to practice all weekend." Reschedule. That word cut deeper than I could explain. I stood there, watching them plan her rehearsal schedule, my birthday forgotten. No balloons, no friends, no piñata. Instead, I got a gift card, slipped into my hand as Mom rushed Natalie out the door. Later, we ate a grocery store cake, no candles, no song, just a quick slice before Natalie's practice. I sat at the table, staring at the crumbs, feeling smaller than ever. 10 years old, and I was already learning that my moments didn't matter. Natalie's dreams were the sun. I was just a shadow. I went to my room that night, tears stinging, but I didn't let them fall. I told myself I'd be okay, that I'd make my own light. I taped a birthday card from my best friend to my mirror, a reminder that someone saw me. Looking back, that day was a turning point. It wasn't just a missed party. It was the moment I realized I'd have to fight for my place in the world. My family's love was a currency I'd never earn, no matter how hard I tried. But even then, in that quiet Dallas bedroom, I felt a spark of Texas stubbornness. Show them. Not with anger, but with something they couldn't ignore. My own success, built on my terms. By 7th grade, I'd learned to channel my hurt into achievement. I poured myself into school, especially science, where I could lose myself in logic and discovery. That year, I won the district science fair with a project on renewable energy. A solar panel prototype I'd spent months perfecting. The presentation was at 4 p.m., and I'd told my parents weeks in advance, hoping they'd show up. I stood by my display, heart pounding, scanning the auditorium for their faces. They never came. Later that night I found out why. They'd been at Natalie's dance recital, cheering her on as she stumbled through a routine. When I confronted them, holding my blue ribbon, Mom sighed. "Jessica, you know these things come easily to you. Natalie gets nervous. She needs us more." That excuse was a knife. Easily to me. I'd stayed up late, scavenging parts from thrift stores, teaching myself circuitry from library books. I'd begged for a ride to the fair because they were too busy with Natalie's costume fittings. I went back to my room, taped that ribbon to my wall, and made a vow. I'd succeed despite them. If they wouldn't see me, I'd make the world notice. That's when I discovered coding. The local library had an old computer, and I spent hours there, teaching myself Python, losing myself in lines of code that didn't judge or overlook me. Coding was my rebellion. While Natalie got a MacBook for her artistic pursuits, I worked with outdated software, piecing together programs that made me feel powerful. Each line I wrote was a step away from their shadow, a declaration that I didn't need their approval. But it still hurt. I'd hear them downstairs, planning Natalie's next competition, while I debugged code alone. My parents saw my drive as a given, not a triumph. They didn't know the nights I cried, wondering why I wasn't enough. But Texas taught me to keep going. That ribbon on my wall wasn't just a prize. It was proof I could build something from nothing, even when no one believed in me. High school was where I became my own parent. While Natalie floated through life on our parents' endless support, I learned to fend for myself. I joined every academic club I could, math, science, debate. Not just for passion, but to fill the hours while Mom and Dad drove Natalie to dance lessons. I cooked my own dinners when they forgot, stirring mac and cheese while they planned her recitals. I got my driver's license at 16, borrowing their old pickup to get to competitions because they were too busy to drive me. I worked weekends at a Dallas diner, saving for SAT prep books and college application fees, while Natalie got a shiny new car when she didn't make the dance team senior year. My parents called me independent like it was a compliment, but it was a necessity. When I got accepted to 3 Ivy League schools with scholarships, they nodded and said, "Well, you're the studious one." No celebration, no pride. Meanwhile, Natalie's mediocre GPA earned her a 3-week Europe trip to find herself. At my graduation, I was valedictorian, standing at the podium speaking about perseverance. I looked out, hoping to see them. They were there, but distracted, fixing Natalie's cap as she fussed about her hair. After they gave her that Europe trip, I got a practical watch. "You don't need extravagance," Mom said. "You've got your scholarship." Those years forged me. I learned to budget, to plan, to survive without their help. I'd lie awake in my Dallas bedroom, hearing them plan Natalie's European itinerary next door, and I'd dream of a life where I wasn't invisible. I didn't know it then, but that independence was my greatest asset. It was Texas grit, raw, stubborn, unyielding. I wasn't just surviving. I was building the foundation for Secure Link Technologies, a company that would change my life. But the cost was steep. Every step I took alone was a reminder. My family's love was a door I'd never unlock. Yet, in that struggle, I found something stronger, myself. Leaving that Dallas house behind felt like breaking free from a cage. At 18, I stepped onto the University of Texas at Austin campus with a full scholarship, my ticket to a new life. But freedom came with a price. while my sister, Natalie, breezed through SMU 30 minutes from home, with mom and dad footing her tuition, rent, and even a monthly allowance. I was on my own. My scholarship covered classes, but books, food, and a tiny off-campus apartment. That was on me. I worked 20 hours a week at the university library, shelving books until midnight, and another 10 at a coffee shop on Guadalupe Street, steaming lattes for undergrads who didn't have to hustle like I did. Every day was a grind. I'd wake at 6 a.m. for classes, study in stolen moments between shifts, and fall into bed exhausted, only to do it again. My parents called Natalie's allowance support for her focus. Me. They said, "Jessica, you're fine. You always figure it out." Figuring it out meant skipping meals to afford textbooks, choosing sleep over socializing, and carrying a weight no one saw. I'd see Natalie's Instagram posts, parties, new clothes, trips to Europe, all funded by mom and dad. I didn't resent her. I envied the love she got so easily. But Austin was where I found myself. The city's energy, its tech buzz, its live music, its stubborn independence, lit a fire in me. I majored in computer science, losing myself in code, where logic ruled and feelings didn't. My professors noticed my drive, but my family didn't. I'd call home, hoping to share a good grade or a project, but mom would pivot to Natalie's latest dance drama. "She's struggling, Jessica. You're doing fine." Fine. That word was a wall between us. Still, I kept going, fueled by Texas grit and a promise to myself. I'd build something they couldn't ignore. Late nights in the library, I'd dream of a future where I wasn't invisible. I'd walk past the tower at UT, its orange glow a beacon, and think, this is my shot. I wasn't just studying, I was forging a path. Every shift at the coffee shop, every line of code, was a step toward something bigger. I didn't know it yet, but those long hours, that relentless hustle, were laying the foundation for secure link technologies. In Austin, I learned that success wasn't given. It was earned, one grueling day at a time. In my sophomore year at UT, everything changed. I took an entrepreneurship class, a break from my usual coding grind, and it was like a door swung open. Our final project was to pitch a business idea, and I was obsessed with a problem: identity theft. A friend had her life upended by it. Bank accounts drained, credit ruined. I thought, what if we could secure identities with something unbreakable? That's when I came up with Secure Link, a system blending blockchain and biometrics to make verification ironclad. I spent weeks in the library, sketching ideas, coding prototypes, fueled by coffee and a fire I couldn't explain. When I pitched it in class, my hands shook, but my voice was steady. I laid out how Secure Link could protect people, businesses, even governments. My professor, Dr. Rivera, pulled me aside after. "Jessica, this isn't just a project. This could be a company." His words hit me like lightning. For the first time, someone saw my potential, not my sister's shadow. I walked across campus that night, the Austin skyline glittering, and felt unstoppable. But the real world wasn't so kind. I pitched to a local investor, a big shot in Austin's tech scene. He leaned back, smirked, and said, "You're too young, too green. Come back when you've got experience." I left his office, got in my beat-up Toyota, and cried. Those tears weren't weakness, they were fuel. I sat in that car, parked on a quiet Austin street, and told myself, if my family didn't believe in me, why should he? I'd spent my life being overlooked. I wasn't going to let one rejection stop me. I went back to my dorm, opened my laptop, and kept coding. I read everything I could on blockchain, stayed up until 3 a.m. debugging, and refined the idea. Secure Link wasn't just tech. It was my defiance, my proof that I could build something without anyone's approval. That rejection taught me a lesson. Success isn't about who believes in you. It's about believing in yourself. I started reaching out to mentors, attending Austin tech meetups, soaking up advice from anyone who'd talk to me. I'd stand in those crowded rooms, a 20-year-old surrounded by seasoned founders, feeling out of place but refusing to back down. Slowly, Secure Link took shape. Not just as an idea but as a mission. I wasn't building a company for fame or money. I was building it to prove I was enough, to myself and to the family who never saw me. That spark, born in a UT classroom, was about to change everything. After graduation, I stayed in Austin, determined to turn Secure Link into reality. I rented a shoebox apartment off South Congress, the kind with creaky floors and a leaky faucet. My life was ramen noodles, second-hand furniture, and whiteboards covered in code. I took a software job by day, coding for Secure Link at night, my eyes burning from screen glare. Sleep was a luxury. I'd catch naps on my couch between debugging sessions. Every dollar went to my dream: servers, software, a cheap logo I designed myself. It was lonely, but loneliness was familiar. I'd grown up invisible, so I knew how to keep going. Then I met Amanda, a friend from UT with a Texas-sized personality and a marketing degree. She'd grown up in Houston, raised on the same grit I had, and she saw something in Secure Link. Over beers at a dive bar on 6th Street, I pitched her my vision. She didn't hesitate. "I'm in," she said, her drawl thick with conviction. Amanda became our marketing director, bringing energy and ideas that lit up our tiny operation. We set up in a rented warehouse in East Austin, our office a mess of folding tables and extension cords. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. We were a team of 2 at first, working 80-hour weeks, pitching to anyone who'd listen. Amanda's charm opened doors. My code kept them open. We landed our first client, a small Austin startup, by sheer persistence. I'd lie awake at night, worrying we'd fail, but Amanda's optimism was infectious. "We're building something big, Jess," she'd say, slapping a post-it on my monitor with a smiley face. Those early days were chaos. Missed deadlines, crashed servers, endless pitches, but they were also magic. For the first time, I had someone who believed in me, not my sister's shadow. Building Secure Link was my rebellion. Every line of code, every sleepless night, was a middle finger to the family who'd overlooked me. I'd think of Mom's voice. "Jessica, you're fine on your own," and channel it into work. Amanda and I celebrated small wins. Our first $10,000 contract, our first employee, a local tech blog mention. Austin's startup scene was buzzing, and we were part of it, grinding alongside dreamers like us. Secure Link wasn't just a company. It was my heart, my proof that I could build something unbreakable, even if my family never saw it. 2 years in, Secure Link was gaining traction, but we hit a wall that nearly broke us. We'd spent months pitching a regional bank, a client that could put us on the map. They loved our demo, praised our blockchain tech, and promised a contract worth 6 figures. It was our big break, the kind that could fund a real office, more hires, stability. I was already dreaming of what came next. Then, 2 days before signing, their email came. "We're going with a bigger firm." No explanation, just a polite brush-off. I sat in our warehouse office, staring at the screen, my stomach sinking. It felt like my childhood all over again, working so hard only to be overlooked. I was ready to quit. I sat alone that night, surrounded by empty coffee cups, wondering if I'd been a fool to think I could do this. Secure Link was my everything, but maybe it wasn't enough. Amanda sensed it. She called a midnight team meeting. Me, her, and our 2 new hires, crammed around a folding table. "We're not done," she said, her Texas drawl firm. "This bank doesn't define us. We're Secure Link, and we're just getting started." She pulled out a whiteboard, and we brainstormed until dawn. New pitches, new strategies, new clients. Her fire reignited mine. We pivoted hard. I reworked our demo, streamlined the code, made it sharper. Amanda hit the phones, pitching bigger clients with bolder promises. A month later, we landed a deal with a national retailer, twice the size of the bank's contract. When we signed, we celebrated with cheap pizza and Shiner beers in our warehouse, laughing until we cried. That moment wasn't just a win. It was a turning point. I realized Secure Link wasn't just my dream, it was ours. Amanda, our team, they were my chosen family, the ones who saw me when my real family didn't. That challenge taught me something. Setbacks aren't the end. They're the forge. In Texas, we don't quit when the going gets tough, we dig in. I thought of my parents who never showed up for my science fairs, and how I'd kept going anyway. This was no different. Every rejection, every late night, was building something stronger. Secure Link wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. We moved to a bigger office, hired more staff, and started getting noticed. But the real victory was knowing I could face anything, even failure, and come out swinging. By 2021, Secure Link was a force. We'd moved from our East Austin warehouse to a sleek downtown office, windows overlooking the Colorado River. Our team grew to 15, and I could finally pay myself a real salary. No more ramen dinners. Clients were lining up, from startups to Fortune 500s, drawn to our bulletproof cybersecurity. Then came the moment I'd dreamed of. Forbes ran a feature on us, calling Secure Link a game changer in identity protection. I held that magazine in my hands, my name in print, and felt like I'd finally made it. I'd built something the world couldn't ignore. I called my parents, hoping this would change things. Maybe they'd see me now, be proud. I dialed Mom's number, heart pounding. "Hey Mom, did you see the Forbes article? Secure Link made it." There was a pause, then her voice distracted. "That's nice, Jessica. Did you hear Natalie's dating an artist? He's opening a gallery in Dallas." My heart sank. I'd built $1 million company, and still I was an afterthought. Dad got on the phone, said, "Good job, kid," then pivoted to Natalie's boyfriend. I hung up, staring out my office window at Lady Bird Lake, the water calm but my chest tight. Their disinterest wasn't new, but it still hurt. I'd spent years chasing their approval, thinking success would earn it. Forbes was my proof, my blue ribbon from that 7th grade science fair. But they didn't show up for this either. I sat at my desk, the magazine open, and let myself feel the weight of it. Not anger, just grief. For the family I'd never have, for the love I'd never earn. But then I looked around. My team was buzzing, Amanda planning our next pitch, our mission growing. They saw me. They were my family now. That moment clarified everything. Success wasn't about their validation, it was about mine. Secure Link was my legacy, built on Texas grit, late nights, and a refusal to quit. I framed that Forbes article not for them but for me. It hung in our office, a reminder of what I'd done without them. The world was watching now. Clients, investors, the tech scene in Austin. But my parents, they stayed in their Dallas bubble, blind to what I'd become. I wasn't invisible anymore, but to them I'd always be. And I was starting to be okay with that. In the spring of 2023, my world shifted. I got a call from Dad, his voice heavy, saying Mom had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. It was a gut punch. I dropped everything, booked the first flight from Austin to Dallas, and showed up at our old colonial house, the one I'd left behind years ago. The air inside was thick with grief, but it wasn't a homecoming. Mom was frail, her sharp edges softened by illness, but the distance between us hadn't changed. Natalie was already there, playing the devoted daughter, hovering by Mom's bedside, whispering comforts. I tried to help, cooking meals, researching treatments, sitting quietly with Mom when she'd let me. For 3 days, I poured my heart into being there, hoping to bridge the gap that had defined us. But I was an outsider in my own family. One night, I overheard Mom tell Natalie, "You're my rock, sweetheart. Jessica's too distant." The words sliced through me, sharper than any knife. Distant. I'd flown across Texas, rearranged my life, sat by her side. But in her eyes, I was still the capable one, the one who didn't need her. Then Dad pulled me aside, his face tired. "Jessica, your mom gets agitated when you're here. Maybe it's best if you head back to Austin." Agitated? I nodded, numb, and packed my bag. 3 days later, Mom was gone. I didn't find out from Dad or Natalie. My aunt sent an email, brief and cold. "Your mother passed this morning. Funeral's Friday." I sat at my desk in Austin, staring at the screen, the words blurring through tears. I'd spent my life chasing Mom's approval, thinking maybe one day she'd see me. But even in her final days, I was excluded, pushed out of her heart and her goodbye. The pain wasn't just losing her. It was knowing I'd never been hers to begin with. Natalie was her daughter. I was just an obligation. I wanted to scream, to demand why I wasn't enough, but there was no one to answer. In Texas, we're taught to keep moving, so I did. I flew back for the funeral, but the house felt like a museum of my failures. Photos of Natalie on every wall, none of me. I was grieving, but not just for Mom. I was grieving the family I'd never had, the love I'd never earned. Mom's funeral was a blur of black dresses and hushed voices. I sat in the front row of the Dallas church, but I felt like a stranger in my own family's story. Mourners whispered about Natalie's grace, her devotion, barely noticing me. "Oh, you're the other daughter," one said, surprised, as if I'd materialized from thin air. I kept my head down, clutching a program, trying to hold myself together. But the real blow came after. I wasn't invited to the will reading. Natalie and Dad handled it quietly, shutting me out like I was an afterthought. My aunt, ever the reluctant messenger, emailed me the details a week later. I read it on a plane back to Austin, my hands trembling, the hum of the engines drowning out my thoughts. The will left everything to Natalie. The house in Dallas, worth $1.2 million, with its big backyard and tire swing. The investment accounts, $800,000, built from Dad's careful savings. Grandma's jewelry, pearl necklaces, diamond rings Mom wore on special occasions. All of it, every piece of our family's legacy, went to my sister. Mom's handwritten note was the cruelest part. "Jessica is strong. She'll make her own way. Natalie needs this to find her path." Strong. That word my whole life had been a cage. It meant I didn't deserve care, didn't warrant love. I stared at the paper, my chest tight, feeling the weight of being erased. Even in death, Mom chose Natalie over me. I wanted to call Dad to ask why they'd kept me from the reading, why Mom thought I needed nothing. But I didn't. I knew the answer. I'd always been second. The jewelry hurt most. Those pearls were supposed to be mine, a promise Mom made when I was a kid. Now they'd adorn Natalie's neck, a symbol of my exclusion. I landed in Austin, drove to my apartment, and sat in the dark, the will crumpled in my hand. I didn't cry. I was too hollow for tears. In Texas, we don't break, we build. But that night, I wasn't sure I had anything left to build with. The pain wasn't just about money or things. It was about being written out of my family's story, like I'd never mattered. I thought of all the times I tried to earn Mom's love. Straight A's, science fairs, late nights coding. None of it was enough. I was strong, so I got nothing. Natalie was weak, so she got everything. But even in that darkness, a spark flickered. I'd make my own legacy, one they couldn't take. Secure Link was my answer, my defiance, my proof that I didn't need their love to shine. A year later, after Secure Link hit Forbes, my phone rang. It was Dad. His voice warmer than I'd heard in years. "Jessica, we saw your article. You've done well, kiddo. Let's reconnect." I was cautious but hopeful. Maybe my success had finally opened their eyes. I invited them to Austin, thinking we could start over. A week later, Dad's old Volvo pulled into my driveway, its engine rattling. Natalie stepped out, all smiles. Her hair swept back like she was auditioning for a role. They hugged me, but it felt rehearsed, like they were playing parts in a play I didn't understand. I showed them my lakefront home, a far cry from my old ramen noodle apartment. They gawked at the marble counters, the view of Lady Bird Lake, the art on my walls. "You've really made it," Dad said, his eyes lingering on my hardwood floors. Natalie ran her fingers along my kitchen island, her voice sugary. "This place is amazing, Jess. You must be so proud." But her eyes weren't warm, they were calculating. I pushed the unease down, serving iced tea on the deck, trying to believe they were here for me. We talked about old times, but it was surface level. Natalie's new boyfriend, Dad's golf game. They didn't ask about Secure Link, my team, my life. Then Dad's tone shifted. "Your success, Jessica. It's a family accomplishment. We were there for you, always." I froze, my glass halfway to my lips. There for me. They'd ignored my science fairs, skipped my graduation speech, left me to pay for college alone. Natalie chimed in, her voice too casual. "Yeah, we supported you, even if you didn't see it. It's like a team effort." My stomach churned. This wasn't a reunion, it was a setup. They weren't here to mend fences. They were here to stake a claim. I kept my face neutral, but my mind raced. What did they want? That night, I lay awake, replaying their words. In Texas, we trust our gut, and mine was screaming. I thought of Mom's will, how they'd shut me out. Now, with Secure Link in the spotlight, they were back, acting like they'd been my biggest fans. I wanted to believe they'd changed, that they saw me at last. But deep down I knew better. They didn't want me, they wanted what I'd built. The warmth in Dad's voice, Natalie's fake smile. It was all a performance. I'd spent my life chasing their love. But this visit wasn't love. It was greed dressed up as family. And I was about to find out just how far they'd go. The next morning we sat on my deck for brunch, the Austin sun glinting off Lady Bird Lake. I'd made breakfast, biscuits, eggs, coffee, hoping to salvage the visit. But the air felt heavy, like a storm was brewing. Natalie sipped her coffee, her eyes darting to Dad. He cleared his throat, leaning forward. "Jessica, we've been thinking. Secure Link's doing so well and, well, we deserve a piece of it. 20% of the company seems fair." I blinked, sure I'd misheard. 20%. My company, built on sleepless nights and scraped together savings. I set my fork down, my voice calm but cold. "What are you talking about?" Natalie jumped in, her voice sharp. "Come on, Jess. We're family. Dad's puzzles, Mom's encouragement, they helped you get here. We should share the success." I almost laughed. Dad's puzzles. Those were hobby ciphers from the 90s, nothing to do with my blockchain tech. Mom's encouragement. She'd barely noticed my existence. "You didn't pay for my college," I said, my voice steady. "You didn't fund Secure Link. I built this alone." Dad's face hardened. "We gave you a home, computers, stability. You owe us." "Owe them." The computers were second-hand. Stability was me raising myself. A week later, Natalie called me on video, her face filling my laptop screen. She was furious, her voice rising. "You're selfish, Jessica. Mom always said you'd make it big, and we deserve a piece of it." I kept my composure, but my heart raced. "You're not entitled to my work," I said. She screamed, "We'll see about that," and hung up. My husband, Michael, overheard, his jaw tight. "They're coming for you, Jess," he said. I nodded, the truth sinking in. This wasn't a request. It was a demand, backed by a threat. They thought they could bully me into giving up what I'd earned. I sat in my office that night, staring at the Austin skyline, my mind reeling. I'd spent my life proving myself to them, but this was different. They didn't just want my success, they wanted to steal it. In Texas, we don't back down from a fight, but this one hurt. These were my father and sister, the people I'd once loved, now treating me like a stranger to exploit. I thought of Mom's will, how they'd erased me without a second thought. Now they saw my company as their lottery ticket. I wasn't just angry, I was heartbroken. But I wasn't helpless. I'd built Secure Link from nothing, and I'd protect it, no matter what they threw at me. A week after the video call, they took it further. I was in a meeting at Secure Link's downtown Austin office when my assistant buzzed me. "Your dad and sister are here. They're demanding to see you." My stomach dropped. I walked to the lobby, and there they were. Dad in his faded polo, Natalie in a designer dress, her face a mask of entitlement. Employees glanced over, sensing the tension. Natalie didn't wait for pleasantries. "This is our company too, Jessica," she shouted, loud enough for my team to hear. "You can't shut us out." Dad stood behind her, arms crossed. His silence louder than her words. Kept my voice low, professional. "This isn't the place. Let's talk privately." Natalie ignored me, stepping closer. "We deserve our share. You wouldn't be here without us." My team stared, frozen. I signaled security, my hands steady despite the chaos in my chest. 2 guards escorted them out, Natalie yelling until the glass doors closed. I stood there, humiliated but resolute. My employees looked to me, and I forced a smile. Back to work, folks. But inside I was shaking. My own family, in my place of pride, trying to tear me down. That evening, a legal notice arrived by courier. I opened it at my desk, Michael by my side. It was a lawsuit filed by Dad and Natalie, claiming 20% of Secure Link. Their argument: my tech was based on Dad's old encryption puzzles, a family intellectual property. It was absurd, laughable, but it wasn't funny. They'd hired a lawyer, banking on intimidation to force my hand. I thought of all the years I'd tried to earn their love. Science fairs, scholarships, Forbes. Now they were suing me, not for who I was, but for what I'd built. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd imagined. Michael squeezed my shoulder. "We'll fight this, Jess. They don't get to win." He was right. In Texas, we don't run from a challenge. We face it head-on. I called Catherine Ward, the best corporate lawyer in Austin, known for shredding weak cases. She took one look at the notice and laughed. "This is nonsense, Jessica. We'll bury them." I hired her on the spot, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just about money. It was about protecting what I'd created, the life I'd forged without them. They'd underestimated me my whole life, but I wasn't the invisible girl anymore. I was ready to show them exactly who they were up against. The lawsuit from my family was a storm I never saw coming, but I was ready to fight. My lawyer, Catherine Ward, was a Texas legend, known for dismantling flimsy cases with surgical precision. We sat in her Austin office, surrounded by legal pads and coffee cups, as she dissected their claim. They said my Secure Link technology was built on Dad's old encryption puzzles, a hobby he'd scribbled in notebooks decades ago. It was absurd, but they were banking on intimidation, hoping I'd cave under pressure. Catherine just smirked. "This won't hold up," she said, her drawl steady. "We've got this, Jessica." She uncovered emails that told the real story. Late-night messages between Dad and Natalie, sent before Mom's death, plotting to claim a stake in Secure Link once it hit big. They'd watched my Forbes feature, seen dollar signs, and decided I owed them. Catherine presented those emails in court, each one a dagger to their case. Natalie took the stand, fumbling through questions about blockchain and biometrics, terms she couldn't define. "It's Dad's idea," she stammered, her face flushed. The judge's eyes narrowed, unimpressed. I sat in the courtroom, my heart pounding, watching their lies unravel. They weren't just after money. They'd planned to exploit me, their own blood, from the start. Catherine didn't stop there. She dug into their finances, showing Natalie had burned through her inheritance on failed art ventures, while Dad's pension was drying up. Secure Link was their lifeline, a desperate grab at my success. I listened, my hands clenched, as the truth spilled out. This wasn't about family pride or shared dreams. It was greed, pure and simple. I thought of all the years I'd tried to earn their love, the science fairs they skipped, the birthday they canceled. Now they were here, in an Austin courtroom, trying to take what I'd built alone. The pain was raw, but so was my resolve. In Texas, we don't back down, and I had Catherine by my side, a force as unyielding as a hill country storm. She cross-examined Dad, asking how his puzzles, basic ciphers from the 90s, could possibly relate to my cutting-edge tech. He mumbled, unable to answer. The courtroom was silent, the weight of their deception hanging heavy. I looked at them, my father and sister, and saw strangers. They'd underestimated me just like always. But this time I wasn't invisible. I was a founder, a fighter, and I'd protect what was mine, no matter the cost. The legal battle reached its peak in a sterile Austin conference room, where we faced off for a settlement hearing. Catherine Ward was a lion, her presence commanding as she laid out our defense. She didn't just counter their claims, she turned the tables. "We have grounds for a countersuit," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "Inheritance fraud. You excluded Jessica from her mother's final days and manipulated the will to cut her out." She slid a stack of documents across the table. Emails, phone records, proof they'd kept me from Mom's deathbed to secure Natalie's inheritance. Dad's face went pale. Natalie's eyes filled with tears. The room felt smaller, the air thick with their defeat. Catherine leaned forward, her Texas drawl sharp. "Drop this lawsuit, or we'll bury you in court." Natalie's lawyer, a nervous man in a cheap suit, stammered, advising them to back off. Dad looked at me, his eyes pleading, but I held his gaze, unyielding. I wasn't the little girl he'd ignored anymore. Natalie sobbed, muttering about fairness. But it was over. They signed an agreement, legally binding, never to sue me again. The gavel fell, and I walked out of that room, free but heavy. Victory should have felt sweet, but it didn't. I'd won the battle, but the war had cost me my family. I drove back to my Austin office, the city skyline blurring through my tears. Michael, my husband, met me at the door, pulling me into a hug. "You did it," he whispered. But what had I done? Protected my company, yes, but at the price of any hope for reconciliation. I sat at my desk, staring at a photo of our team, and felt the weight of it all. They'd tried to take everything, but they'd lost more. Their daughter, their sister, their chance to know me. In Texas, we celebrate wins, but this one was hollow. I thought of Mom's will, her note calling me strong, as if that justified leaving me nothing. I thought of Dad's silence, Natalie's screams, their greed laid bare. I'd fought for secure link, for the life I'd built, but the scars remained. Still, I wasn't broken. I'd stood my ground, not out of revenge, but survival. That courtroom victory was mine, earned through years of grit and defiance. As I looked out at Lady Bird Lake, its waters calm, I knew this wasn't the end. I'd turn this pain into something greater, something they could never touch. After the lawsuit, I couldn't shake the emptiness. Winning in court protected secure link, but it didn't heal the wounds my family left behind. I needed purpose, something bigger than myself. That's when I founded the Secure Link Foundation, a non-profit to support young entrepreneurs from tough backgrounds. Kids like me, overlooked, underestimated, but full of dreams. I poured my heart into it, using my company's profits to fund scholarships, mentorships, and startup grants. Austin became our hub, a city that thrives on innovation and second chances. The foundation wasn't just charity, it was my way of rewriting my story. At our first event in 2025, I met Sophia, a 19-year-old from Houston with eyes that burned with determination. Her parents had favored her brother, dismissing her coding skills as a hobby. Sound familiar? She'd built an app for foster youth, a tool to connect them with resources, and it blew me away. Over coffee at a South Congress cafe, she told me her story. feeling invisible, working late nights in her school's computer lab, dreaming of a future her family couldn't see. I saw myself in her, the girl who taped science fair ribbons to her wall, vowing to prove her worth. I became Sophia's mentor, guiding her through pitches, connecting her with investors, watching her app take off. Every meeting, every milestone healed a piece of me. The foundation grew, hosting workshops in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, drawing dreamers from across Texas. We gave them laptops, coding boot camps, a chance to shine. I'd stand at our events, watching kids like Sophia present their ideas, their voices steady despite their pasts. It was like watching my younger self, but with someone in her corner. I wasn't just building a legacy. I was building a community, a family of fighters who'd been overlooked but never gave up. In Texas, we turned pain into purpose. The foundation became my redemption, a way to give others the support I never had. Sophia's success, and the success of dozens like her, showed me that family isn't just blood. It's the people who see your potential and lift you up. I'd lost my parents and sister, but I'd gained something greater. A mission. SecureLink Foundation wasn't just about tech. It was about hope, about proving that no one's past defines their future. Every kid we helped was a reminder. I wasn't invisible anymore, and neither were they. The lawsuit left scars that no courtroom victory could erase. I was strong, but strength had been my burden, the excuse my family used to overlook me. I needed to unpack that, so I started therapy with Dr. Bennett, a soft-spoken woman in Austin who helped me see the weight I'd carried. Being strong doesn't mean you don't hurt, she said. Those words cracked something open. I'd spent my life proving I could do it alone, but I didn't have to. Therapy wasn't about fixing me. It was about understanding that I deserved to feel, to grieve, to heal. Last spring, I spoke at the SecureLink Foundation's first gala, held in a downtown Austin ballroom. I stood at the podium, lights bright, 200 young entrepreneurs watching me. My voice trembled as I shared my story, not just the success but the pain. My family tried to break me, I said, but they made me unbreakable. You're here because you're fighters too. Don't let anyone tell you you're not enough. The room erupted, clapping, some in tears. I felt their strength, their stories echoing mine. For the first time, I wasn't alone in my fight. After the speech, a mentee named David approached me. He was 22, from Lubbock, his voice quiet but firm. Your story gave me courage, he said. I confronted my parents about favoring my sister. They listened because of you. His words hit me hard. I'd helped him find his voice, just as I was finding mine. That night, walking along Lady Bird Lake with Michael, my husband, I felt lighter. The water shimmered under the stars, Austin's skyline glowing. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, surrounded by people who saw me. Healing wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building a new future. Michael, Amanda, my team, Sophia, David, they were my chosen family, the ones who showed up when my blood family didn't. Therapy taught me to let go of the need for mom's approval, dad's pride, Natalie's acceptance. I'd spent years chasing a love that wasn't mine to have, but now I had something better. Love I'd chosen, love that chose me back. In Texas, we don't just endure. We rebuild, stronger, rooted in the grit that defines us. That gala, that walk by the lake, showed me I'd found my place, not in my family's eyes, but in my own. A few months after the lawsuit, a letter arrived at my Austin office, handwritten, postmarked from Dallas. It was from Dad. I held it, my hands unsteady, unsure if I wanted to open it. Part of me expected another demand, another manipulation. But I sat at my desk, the city quiet outside, and read. Jessica, he wrote, I'm sorry. We failed you, your mother, Natalie, me. I see that now. I'm proud of you, even if I never showed it. He talked about selling the house, living simply, volunteering at a Dallas shelter. Natalie was in Colorado, struggling, starting over. He ended with, I hope we can talk someday. I sat there, the words blurring. Proud. He'd never said that before. But pride now felt like too little, too late. I thought of the years I'd waited for those words. Science fairs, graduations, Forbes, and how they'd never come. This letter wasn't closure. It was a crack in the door, a glimpse of what might have been. I wrote back, not forgiving, just honest. "Thank you for your words," I said. "I'm glad you're finding peace. I'm still finding mine." We met for coffee in Austin at a quiet spot near Zilker Park. It was awkward, stilted, two strangers trying to remember how to be family. Dad looked older, his hands worn, his eyes heavy with regret. He talked about his volunteering, how it gave him purpose. I listened, nodding, but kept my distance. Natalie sent a friend request on social media. Her profile picture bright and forced. I didn't accept it. Some wounds heal slowly, if at all. I wasn't ready to let her back in. Not after the lawsuit, the betrayal, the years of being second. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was learning to let go, not for them but for me. In Texas, we know forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. I forgave Dad for my own peace, to free myself from the weight of his failures. Coffee meetings became occasional, cautious steps toward something new. Not the family I'd lost, but a fragile connection I could control. Natalie remained a shadow, her life her own to fix. Healing meant choosing my boundaries, my family, my future. I'd built secure link from nothing, and I'd build my peace the same way. With grit, with heart, with the strength I'd always had. This journey hasn't been easy, but it's been mine. Growing up in that Dallas house, I was invisible, always second to my sister, Natalie. My parents, Margaret and Robert, chose her every time. Her dance recitals over my science fairs, her dreams over mine. I built secure link technologies from nothing, pouring every ounce of Texas grit into it, only to face their ultimate betrayal. A lawsuit to claim what I'd earned alone. They tried to break me, but they didn't know who I'd become. I fought back, won, and turned my pain into purpose through the Secure Link Foundation, mentoring kids like Sophia and David, who know what it's like to be overlooked. My family's rejection taught me a hard truth. Your worth isn't defined by those who fail to see you. It's defined by what you create, by the people you choose to stand beside you. I lost the family I was born into, but I built a new one. My husband, Michael, my friend Amanda, my team, and the dreamers I lift up. They're my heart, my strength, the ones who show up when it matters most. In Texas, we know about building from the ground up, about turning scars into stars. That's what I've done, not for revenge, but for redemption. This story isn't just about me. It's for anyone who's felt unseen, pushed aside by the people who should love them most. Maybe you've been told you're too much or not enough. Maybe you've fought for a place at the table, only to find the door locked. See you. Your pain is real, but so is your power. You don't need their approval to shine. You build your own table, your own legacy, with the grit that runs through your veins. Austin taught me that, with its sunsets over Lady Bird Lake, its pulse of possibility. You are enough just as you are. I stand here, stronger not because of my family, but despite them. Secure Link is my proof. The foundation my purpose, my chosen family my home. Your story can be proof too. Whatever you're facing, know this. You have the strength to rise, to create, to choose who walks with you. Break the cycle. Claim your worth. In Texas, we don't just survive, we thrive, and I'm here to tell you you can too. If my story hit you where it hurts, if it stirred something deep, I want to hear from you. This isn't just my journey, it's ours. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family, to walk away from those who dimmed your light? Have you found strength after betrayal, built something beautiful from the ashes? Drop your story in the comments below. Your words could spark hope in someone watching, someone who feels alone right now. Let's build a community here, one of fighters, dreamers, and survivors. Use the hashtag #TruthUnlockStories to share your truth, to show the world what you're made of. Hit that like button if this resonated. if you've ever had to prove your worth against the odds. It's a small act, but it keeps this story alive, reaching others who need it. Subscribe to this channel because I'm not done yet. Every week, I'll share more stories of turning pain into purpose, of rising above the people and pasts that try to hold us back. We're building something special here, a place where your voice matters, where your story can inspire. Don't miss it. In Texas, we don't just tell stories, we live them. I've shared mine raw and real, from the Dallas suburbs to Austin's skyline. Now it's your turn. Share a moment when you stood up, when you chose yourself. Maybe it was leaving a toxic family, starting a business, or simply saying, "I'm enough." Every comment, every story strengthens this community. Let's keep this fire burning together. Click that bell icon so you never miss a video. Next week, we'll dive into another tale of resilience, another chance to connect. Join me, and let's show the world what we're capable of. Thank you for being here, for listening, for feeling this with me. Your support means everything. Let's keep growing, keep fighting, keep breaking the cycle. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we're unstoppable. This is Jessica Harper, signing off from Austin, Texas. Thank you for joining me on this journey, for witnessing my story of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. Produced with heart, filmed in the city I call home, this video is dedicated to everyone breaking free from the shadows of their past. To my team, my chosen family, and the Secure Link Foundation dreamers, thank you for believing in me. Keep sharing your stories with Truth Unlock Stories. Subscribe for more tales of turning pain into purpose. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and know you're enough.